Welcome to Resumania. Thank you for joining. Tonight we have a lovely resume here pulled by Emily. As always, this is a live review session that will be recorded and will be put up on our YouTube channel. If you are here presently or watching on the channel, please keep in mind that most of the advice coming here is generally from a U.S. perspective. But even if you yourself work within the U.S. or are seeking work within the U.S., also keep in mind that a lot of this stuff can be subjective. We want to try and get you in a good general direction, but a lot of hiring managers have their own personal preferences. We can't make guarantees, unfortunately. Let's see. I know I'm forgetting something that you always have to do for me, Emily. What is it? It's
usually what it is. I don't know what yours is.
On that case, I'll pass it off to you.
All right.
U.S.
thanks.
perspective. Did you
Yeah,
mention that part?
he said that. He said that. You said U.S.
Oh,
perspective.
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No worries.
I remember, if you or someone you know
Oh,
would
there
like
you
to have
go.
their resume reviewed, you can send it to our email. Our email is stemnetworkdiscord@gmail.com. And if you send it there, it may be reviewed live here. If not here, then usually we will still redline and get it sent back to you. I think that's one of the things I typically forget. Now
Yes, that's what you forgot.
Yeah. Please take it away.
All right. So today we have a mechanical engineer. It looks like they're going to be graduating in 2022, so next year. Haven't graduated yet. I just pulled this from the engineering resume subreddit. So I don't think this person's online, but I hope to send them the resume, this video afterwards, so that maybe they can get a little bit more explanation as per the red line.
Quick interjection. Heiken is only seeing a black screen. Could you wiggle around a little bit?
Oh no. Better, worse?
Well, if they still can't see anything, hopefully they will tell us soon. I see it now, they say.
Okay. I think he's typing in the chat. You keep an eye on that for me. I can't see it.
Yeah, I'll let you know if we have any other problems.
Cool, thanks. So, what I like to do at the beginning is kind of just look at formatting and layout. I think that this resume, the margins are extremely tight, top and bottom. What?
Food in and out?
Yeah. Left and right too, they're pretty tight. Lots of like small projects, it looks like, just from kind of an overall perspective. I do say they have an objective statement. But let's talk about that when we get into content. I think the font's pretty easy to read. What do you guys think about that? Overall thoughts?
Could you post a snippet in the
Yes. I do forget that. My bad.
Thank you.
Let me do that really quick. I'm going to post it in the large meeting room. There you go.
The font there was pretty readable. From earlier, it seemed like it was coming through pretty clear, and I don't have any issue reading this even now.
Yeah. Although some letters like look italicized and some don't. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Oh, maybe it's a nitpick with that J.
Yeah, the J looks like it's...
I agree. Very tight. But overall, I think it's pretty acceptable.
Yep. We got one short dash by accident. It looks like in that first. Everything else looks like is long dash. I don't really like the graduation too, because it looks kind of like, you know how all the other dates are formatted below. It's like, date 1 to date 2, or date 1 here is graduation. I think they could just take out this graduation bit and just say May 2022.
I agree. 100%.
And I think again, other than the margins being pretty tight, it's pretty readable, and it seems you got your horizontal lines that you love. So yeah, let's get into content. All right, what does this objective statement say? Mechanical engineering senior with strong design, coding, and hardware skills looking for an internship for summer 2022. Okay, does this tell us anything new that we won't get from the resume itself? We get the engineering senior because they say it's the graduating May 2022. Hopefully they prove the strong design, coding, and hardware skills in the bullet points. And then the internship for summer 2022 is actually interesting. They want to do an internship after they graduate instead of getting a job immediately, full time. That might be apparent based on which positions they're applying for. However,
yeah, I mean, if you're applying to an internship, then you don't really have to.
Yeah, but
we know you want a summer internship. You applied for an internship.
Yeah, I'm hoping that if they didn't want a full-time job afterwards, then they won't apply to full-time jobs. But so overall, I don't think this objective statement is really telling us anything new. And I think if we remove it, it'll actually make the resume seem a little bit less compact and kind of
agree. I definitely agree with that.
Okay. Education, fine. I thought the GPA being bold is a little questionable, but I mean, they're really proud of their high GPA. That's okay, I guess.
I can appreciate that. Yeah. But it's fine. It's fine. Anything I was gonna say was just a matter of taste.
Yeah, I think as well. It doesn't distract me to a point where it's annoying. So, I guess it's fine. All right, skills section. SolidWorks needs a capital W. Come on, man. Capital W, SolidWorks. All right, and there was that working associate. Is that the CSSWA working associate? I think that's what it is.
It's just SW SolidWorks, Certified SolidWorks Associate.
It's not working associate. My bad. All right. Everything else looks fine. Capitalization is consistent otherwise. Okay, let's look at work experience. It looks like they have 3 items that they're currently doing and 1 item in the past. Technical volunteer is kind of an interesting title, which I've never heard of. If these are all in school, it might be helpful to clarify that. Because it usually you say job position and then the company you're working for, right? I think it's missing that company they're working for. What group is this for? Is this for your university? Is this for your engineering department within your university? The location, maybe that's what the location is. When I hear location, I think of the actual city state, that it is. But maybe that's what they mean. Maybe it's just a center thing. I'm not sure. But let me write that here.
I think it's the first thing.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure that it's I'm gonna say college ? Not city, state. Because we want to know what umbrella they did their, volunteering or insistenting under. All right. Mentor and supported high school robotics teams involved in various competitions. Okay. Set up. I'm going to read them all real quick. Set up, organized, and assisted the on-site 3D printing station machine shop, and cooperated and worked with other volunteers. Okay. We need more specifics, I think. I don't like the word various in resumes. I would just drop the number of competitions that they're doing. Maybe the number of students that they're mentoring would be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know how many kids are on each team. Maybe they're mentoring like a group of 5, which is, again, a lot different than mentoring a group of like 50 students. It's just totally different in terms of how much time you can, allocate for each team or whatever. So I think it would be helpful if we do a little like number of students ? I think that would be a helpful metric to kind of understand the scale of this. And again,
I think the last
go ahead.
bullet point could be worded a little bit stronger, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's
even just collaborated is I think a stronger word than cooperated and worked with.
Cooperated. When I hear the word cooperated, I hear like we got along. You know what I mean?
Right. It's like I didn't hate them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think a little stronger verb would help there. And they're missing a period at the end of this, but they have it. Oh, sometimes they don't have periods. I don't know if they want to remove the periods altogether. Let's remove these. So I'm going to just write be more specific. Because here, like setting up and organizing stuff, like that station specifically and the machine shop, that's very clear to me what they did. But mentoring and supporting is harder for me to understand the level of involvement and what their actions were. Because you could be considered a mentor and be very hands off, you know what I mean? And kind of like help them when they need trouble or like have trouble, but otherwise kind of let them, do their own thing. So being more specific about like actual actions will help communicate what you actually did. I mean, like what was their role? Okay. I think that I'm going to kind of apply to all 3 of those bullet points. And then, yes, I'm going to write that we want like a stronger verb. They say collaborated a little bit further down the page, so I'm not going to suggest it. I'm just going to leave it at stronger verb. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel about that. Like, okay, that's fine, but you can, there's like, you could be super involved and like really helping them and teaching them like a new skill, or you can be hands off. So I think being more descriptive would definitely help there.
This is another very minor thing, but since they're all listed as ongoing, they should be stated in the present tense, right?
I think people have differing opinions about that. Because really all of the items listed on a resume, you should like be like have already at least started and done like some. Like obviously when you write the resume, you won't be like physically doing those things at that moment. So they will be technically in the pass. So
Mm.
in my personal in my personal opinion, I think it's you can do present tense or past tense. I think actually it sounds cleaner to read if everything's in the same past
Yeah.
tense. It's just easier to read fast. When you mix it up a little bit, it gets a little harder to read. But I don't think it's a huge deal. Like, I don't think it's a showstopper. I
For
don't
the
mind it.
second,
Uh-huh.
for the second experience, first bullet point, this is something that I did on my resume, and I think it's common, especially for more like newer people who are new to research, to say this phrase, conducted research.
Mm-hmm.
But it really says nothing in a way. You gotta
Yeah.
say like, I like used either the method you used, like if it was a failure analysis thing, or like did you use any kind of did you use microscopy, did you use spectroscopy, like what did you actually do to identify that, as
Yeah, I
opposed to saying
agree.
conducted research.
I definitely agree. Because they say what they're looking for, which is like, what sort of conditions lead to corrosion, but they don't really say how that experiment is conducted. And like what conditions they're specifically looking at. Because conditions is like a very, again, general word. Like, do you mean like humidity? Do you mean like being bathed in different, like, I don't know, solutions? Seeing how fast the corrosion, onsets and on these ducts or whatever. I don't know.
Right.
But conditions, I think I want to be more specific. Like, what did you look at? And then again, you said conducted research. So like, I really want to know, like, be more descriptive. I'm going to say be more descriptive.
Similar point for the second bullet point as well.
Be more descriptive about experiment. Okay. Set up and programmed data acquisition units to automate collection of data from multiple specimens simultaneously. Again, I don't even know what they're measuring. I'm guessing it has something to do with corrosion, but I don't actually know like if they're measuring like a volume or like a surface area. And how they're doing that. If they're, I don't know.
I don't know what's intended or what's meant by units.
I'm guessing units are like a data acquisition. I'm guessing there's some sort of like, I don't know. Like when I think of data acquisition units, I think of like data acquisition units in cars that like combine all of the data from the sensors that they're getting. So maybe they have some sort of like sensor.
Oh yeah, okay.
Instrumentation.
Well, based on that, sounds
Yeah.
like exactly what it is.
Yeah. So I don't.
Also, then what is specimen, right? It's sort of
I'm
maybe
guessing the
it's
specimen
has to
is
be
the
vague.
ducts. They're testing the steel ducts, right? But
it's an assumption. It's a good assumption, but
yeah, they're not super clear about it. So let's trying to figure out like what variables you actually like, what data you're gathering, like what data are you gathering and how we're doing like sensor.
It might end up being the case that the first two bullet points, I haven't looked at the third one, but the first two bullet points might end up merging into one much more effectively worded bullet point. It seems often the case, having looked through these over the past several months that there's recurring themes. And one of those themes seems to be that people will take one, like something that could be one thing, and then stretch it out into like three because they think it's important to have 3 bullet points or something, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
But
And
the way this reads seems like it might be if the setting up and programming these data acquisition units to automate the collection of data was an aspect of the research that you did, then I think you could potentially merge those into like a nice summation.
no, I think that definitely if they give more information about the actual research in the first bullet point, I do think like setting up and programming the data acquisition units, that can be a separate task. We're just missing the details here, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to guess, right? Don't make the person
Mm-hmm.
guess. So I think if they're more descriptive about how the experiment's set up, what conditions they're looking at, and how they're actually gathering the data, then it'll provide a clear picture about like what they're actually doing when they say, "Oh, we're automating collection of the data." Like we're like, where's this magical data coming from? I think if they have more details, they'll be good. The last bullet point is developed a Matlab script to effectively analyze the data obtained and plot the results in Excel. Excel should be capitalized.
Love to
think-
know how they quantify the effectiveness of how they analyze the data.
It was
Yeah,
very well analyzed.
I was gonna say it's sort of. I think you should remove effectively or remove effectively analyze and maybe change it to something else. Because I mean, scripts don't analyze things, right? Humans analyze data. Like you would do the script to get the data in a form that is then analyzed, kind of thing. But that might be just my projection of what the word analyze means. When I think, I wouldn't say that I wrote something to analyze something really, unless I'm talking about like an artificial intelligence application. But that's neither here nor there. Also, though, isn't it kind of weird that they developed a MATLAB script that is taking in data from presumably from these data acquisition units and then plotting something in Excel and not MATLAB? Is that weird or is that a common thing?
It's a common thing.
Okay.
Excel is more accessible to people, I think, than MATLAB.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I personally prefer to just export it as a CSV and then work with it in Excel. If I want it to look good and presentable.
And you probably honestly could do what they were doing in MATLAB also in Excel, but they probably were more confident in their MATLAB coding ability than their Excel like macros or VBA coding, which is fine.
Do you guys kind of see the point I was making or not really agree with it earlier?
No, I see your point. You can plot things in MATLAB.
Oh, no, sorry. The thing before that, the
the first point,
the whole diatribe about analyze.
Oh yeah, I removed the word effectively.
Okay.
Well, I think this could maybe be made stronger. In my opinion, this would be made stronger if they, instead of saying developed a MATLAB script, they said analyze the data with a MATLAB script or with MATLAB and plot it with Excel.
Well, I think Grayson was actually arguing that you don't really analyze data with a script. You kind of
it is a very
coagulate data.
You know me and my semantics. It's like because to analyze, like when I think of an analysis, I wouldn't say that like crunching a number is an analysis, and the analysis is when you take the result of the crunched number and then think about it and make a decision based on it, right?
Yeah, Frost is on. Frost says data wrangling. That's his favorite word. But basically, MATLAB is they're taking all of these numbers from the data acquisition system and making them make sense via the MATLAB script parsing them. I guess maybe parsing is a good word. But the analysis is usually, like, when I think of analysis, I think of like finite element analysis, where like the program is actually like doing an experiment, not really just getting numbers and then spitting out like a plot or something. I don't know if that's necessary analysis, but I think we're kind of getting into the weeds, or at least I am.
Sorry, yeah, that's my.
It's okay. I think it's clear what they did. They took the data, threw it in with MATLAB, extracted it from the data acquisition system, and then plotted it in Excel. What they're missing is results. Like, you said that you plotted the results, but like, what did the research actually find? Like, how did this person fit into the big picture of what they were doing? And why? So I would say that results, like maybe the whatever they were soaking the steel ducts in wasn't actually causing corrosion at all. That's a result. And it gives a more of a context for what this person is doing.
For the third experience, so first bullet point, echoing the sort of previous stuff, I think it needs more details.
Wait, are you on teaching assistant?
I am.
Oh, come on, man! I was still writing, man. You weren't watching the stream.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
All right. Now I will allow you to continue.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
What were you saying?
The first bullet point, I think, just needs more detail, right? So, I mean, it's. I think when people read teaching assistant, they kind of get an idea. So I don't think it's hugely important compared to the previous two. I think it's more significant to make sure your details are in order. But yeah, so first bullet point, a little more details. Maybe like, does this mean you created curriculum? Because that's like a very specific and legitimate and like more impressive thing than if you just like drafted some documents or something, right? For the second bullet point, I think that's good. I think it's a pretty good thing. It's fine, but I feel like it could be worded more like with COVID mentioned almost. I don't know if that's like basically because the way it reads says like I made curriculum more COVID accessible, which I think sounds better than dynamic online environment.
I don't know what they mean by course material. I'm guessing it's PowerPoint slides, because that's what usually course material is, right?
Well, when I was a teaching assistant, I guess is I use it loosely, but like I've I graded a lot, and I like make homework problems and stuff. So I guess preparing course material could be PowerPoint, could be homeworks, that's the thing, I guess. It's again, we go back to the lack of detail, because that could be as much as making an entire module or something, right?
Yeah, usually what I'm guessing is all of the maybe it wasn't really standardized because COVID happened so fast. People were kind of pushed online. So what I'm guessing happened is that the university bought some sort of package to allow the professors to do their teaching online via a video or something like that, or maybe something like this where it's like a live stream. but I don't really understand what they're doing here, like what they're converting into what. You know what I mean? Enabling integration, like, oh, maybe PowerPoints couldn't be uploaded and they needed to be uploaded as PDFs. Did they just convert PowerPoints to PDFs? Was that this whole thing? Like, I'm not sure what they did. They used R Markdown, which I don't know what that is. Maybe somebody can Google it. But to markup language, maybe the dude did like typed notes, had like a bunch of typed notes, and they needed to upload it. I don't know. Basically, I'm not really sure what this person is doing here. And then again, I agree with you, Grayson. Dynamic online environment does kind of sound cheesy.
The last bullet point is fine. I think if you were actually going for like a teaching role or something, probably using the word tutor would be good somewhere, but I don't think that's really what you're going for, so I don't think it's a big deal.
How do we say it? What would be better than dynamic online environment? It's like online coursework? Online.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I thought it would be like it'd be apt to say like into a COVID, like you know, what would you call it? Into a there's phrases people have used, right? Pandemic. Into a pandemic. Well, you wouldn't say pandemic friendly, would you?
Don't want to be friendly to that pandemic.
Yeah.
Let's just
like
say
that.
online content or something.
Yeah, to enable integration of. See, because that's the thing. Now I'm feeling like I want to change the whole thing. Now
Like
it's
online
should we say
accessible?
enable integration? It sounds like you may. I don't know exactly what I want it to be, but I just know that
okay,
the last 3 words.
I will just leave it as sounds a bit cheesy. Say something else.
I'll think of something.
I don't know what it is, but don't say that. Okay. And I'm at hosted office hours to aid students with coursework and resolve concerns about material covered in class. That's fine. I'm honestly, I know some people really like it, but I'm honestly not all that impressed with TA positions. But that's mainly because I know that people just do it to suck up for teachers for reference letters and don't always like do a good job or actually do anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the most when I look at it, I see that I would just think that they really have a better understanding of the material they taught. Like I'd be more curious to see what the classes were that they were a TA for.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
They
didn't
have that content. What's that?
They didn't even say what course they were doing it for.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if it's like a core engineering course, that might actually be like a good thing to mention. Because like I was a grader for modern physics, and I basically just had to do I had to take the class again, basically, on the side. So a lot of my fundamentals from that class were solidified even more. I didn't even tutor anyone, so if I was tutoring on top of that, then I feel like I would have that stuff burned into my memory.
Yeah, I agree, but sometimes some professors provide an answer key, and then it's like, hey, go grade these. You know?
Yeah, the good ones provide the answer key. You know, I had to do it. I had to do it all myself, and then send him my answers, and then he would confirm or deny. It was the weirdest thing ever.
Weird.
At my university, we have separate designations for the TA and for the graders, for like some courses at least.
Usually, I've seen that they're the same person, at least in my experience. But maybe it's different in different places. Let's see. Okay, do we want to do a student assistant? Okay, worked as part of a team to provide one-on-one and group instruction to 500 students per week. Excuse me. Enrolled in multiple courses. Again, I don't like when you say multiple. Be specific. Be specific. And like which courses again, which we were just talking about. Oh gosh, not talking. Which courses?
It's also, again, I feel like it's not specific enough almost. You worked as part of a team and then the team had a goal of providing one-on-one and group instruction, but like, what did you do? Were you tutoring? Like, is this tutoring, or did you give a lecture? You know?
Yeah, I think they say both one-on-one and group instruction. So I think that's trying to communicate that they're both tutoring one-on-one and also giving lectures in a group.
But what they're saying is that was their team's goal, I think, right? Worked as part of a team to provide that. Isn't that, I guess it's the wording of that to me implies that the collective team goal was that, not necessarily what they did.
Where are you getting the word goal?
I'm so, like, because work as a team to provide one-on-one and group instruction, right? It's like they were working as part of a team, so they were just one of however many, we don't know how many, and then that team was responsible for providing one-on-one and group instruction.
Okay.
So it's like that doesn't. I don't read that and think, oh, that means that this particular person provided both one-on-one and group instruction. For all I know, they could have just printed papers, because they started it by saying they were working as a team, and then saying to provide, to me, that's where like the goal thing in my mind, that's the connection for me.
Okay. I see how you're interpreting that. Yeah. My interpretation of this is that there's like a group of student assistants, and I'm guessing that they probably switch off. Like, okay, you get lecture this week, I'll get lecture next week. You do office hours this week, I'll do office hours next week. And that's how like
when have you ever seen an undergraduate giving a lecture?
We did for our like during office hours, there would be group instruction for basically kids who showed up to the office hours. I mean, obviously the whole class wouldn't show up, but you can pull one kid to the side and help one out, but you can also like, oh, this big group of kids is having issues, let me do it on the board so everybody can figure it out. Maybe not like formal lecture.
Right.
You know what I mean? But like,
and they didn't say that either.
No, of course, this is all me just kind of running with it. But I agree, they aren't super. I would just say maybe just provided if they did this. You aren't watching, but I crossed out worked as part of a team and capitalized provide. Make it past tense. So it would start provided one-on-one and group instruction to students.
Yeah, and then the only thing is to make sure that the 500 plus makes sense still in that context.
Yeah.
Since we don't have the details, like if they, I mean, that's not, even if it's like 100 for you, that's still a lot of people.
Yeah, it's kind of like how many people were split. How many students were split per assistant or whatever. And again, the second one is,
it's kind of implied, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, I think
if you're doing one-on-one instruction, that's kind of the idea, I feel like.
Yeah. I think this person probably was like, I can't have one bullet point. I need 2 bullet points. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. All right, let's do projects. I have a feeling I'm probably going to want to put projects before work experience because all of the work experience right now is just TA stuff and
That's exactly what Frost said earlier.
Yep.
Frost,
yep, moving it.
we're on the same wavelength. All right. Let's start looking at projects then. It looks like their bullet points are short, so I'm not super hopeful. All right. Blind spot. Is blind spot one word or is it like 2 words? Like blind spot versus blind spot?
It's 2 words.
That's a good question.
What did you say, Chase? I missed.
Yeah.
If it is 2 words, it should be capitalized.
Yes, I know. That's why I'm trying to figure this out. Like,
Yeah,
do I
that's good.
capitalize it or do I say squish it together?
It's 2 words.
2 words together?
2 words.
2 words. Blind spot. Okay. All right,
Unless you were
design
talking about the hit TV series from 2015,
blind spot.
apparently.
I've never heard of it.
Me neither. Sorry.
It's okay. All right. Design a system to detect objects and vehicles present in this blind spot of cars.
Honestly, I didn't even realize that. I thought he was saying like the biker's blind spot.
I agree. I thought this was intended for a cyclist.
Sure. Oh, it's bike. I'm an idiot. Sorry. It does say bike at the beginning. My bad.
Now that you've said that, I feel like it's a little ambiguous.
Well, it says
It
bike.
definitely is.
Bike blind spot detector. I'm going to tell them to write it again, though. Bike. And again, is this like bicycle or motorcycle? Right? They
Yeah.
go pretty different speeds. I will say bicycle / motorcycle. Okay, to prevent accidents. Okay. Programmed an Arduino to interface multiple sensors. How many sensors? What type of sensors? What motors? What type of motors? Details. We want details. What type of sensors? What type? Are they like pink sensors? Are they actual distance sensors? What are we doing here? Again, more what type? Okay, to alert the user. And then how? How does it alert the user? How does like the detection of something being in the blind spot translate to an alert to the user? Hopefully that's clear. Okay.
Also, two quick things. So, and I just noticed this. So, between the bullet points, there's a period at the end of user. I don't know if you just mentioned that.
Oh yeah. Good call.
It's like inconsistent, and that's the case across the bullet points. There's some that have a period and some that don't.
Yep.
But then also, I don't know if y'all noticed this, or maybe this is just from your snippet, but every single one of the background words has a slight.
That's from the
like a
screenshot, I think.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah. I think it's from the screenshot. It's just, how do you say it when it's like not real? Yeah.
Virtual, artificial.
Artificial. Perfect. Thank you. But let's look at this last bullet point. Evaluated effectiveness of the system through performing real world tests. Like, did this person go out with a bike and then have someone walk up behind him? Like, was that it? I'm guessing that's what it was. But they say evaluated effectiveness. They don't even say if it was effective. Like, did it work?
That's just
How
not.
effective was it? Right? We want to know. I don't know. Maybe this was like a disaster and it totally didn't work. But I also want to know that. Okay, so
I
we
feel
want
like
to
the
know.
thing of it, that's actually like, that seems like a very non-trivial thing to do.
How was it
That
tested? Was it
if they
effective?
actually did it, would be pretty impressive.
Well, it
Because like,
makes
how
sense.
do you evaluate the effectiveness if it being ineffective means you're crashing? That's like a real, legitimately hard thing to do, especially if if you're not like a car company.
Well, not necessarily. You wouldn't have to have the bike moving. You could just have somebody walk up next to it into the, blind spot zone and see if the sensor goes off. Like, right? That would be kind of a way to do it. Obviously, if the
Isn't
bike
that
is,
so? What does real world test mean?
that's a good point. That's why I wrote down how was this tested.
Yeah.
We could,
Because when I hear real world, I'm like, oh damn, that's like he's on the street, you know?
yeah. I mean, I would think that this person would want the blind spot alert to go off both when he's moving, or she, when they're moving,
Mm-hmm.
and when they're stopped. I guess maybe having them when they're stopped is maybe a good first step. Okay, let's see if it works, without the vibrations from the bike and, the air resistance going on and pushing against the sensors, maybe possibly triggering, false readings. The still
Right.
would be the kind of the easier first step. If it passes that, then I'm guessing the next step would be actually having the bike or whatever moving and doing it. But definitely want to know more about the tests and what they entail.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like, um, I agree. Even just saying something like sensors were tested up to so and so many feet or something like you mentioned, I think that makes more sense as a valid proof of concept for the detector.
Yeah, but if it does work when the bike or whatever is in motion, that's even more impressive in my mind.
Hmm.
Because then you have like
Definitely.
other stuff going on, like the vibrations and stuff like that. If they could get it working, for both of those situations, that's great. But they don't tell us if it works at all, so we want to know. All right. And it looks like that's probably they are a senior. Maybe that's their senior project. I don't know. Maybe they're not there yet. But anyways, let's do the Labview GPS Parser. Utilize Labview to parse data obtained by using a GPS sensor. What? I don't understand
Hmm.
the using a GPS sensor.
I mean, I think that's like they just used data.
From
Like
that,
the data was obtained by using a GPS sensor, right?
Yeah,
So
that's what I think.
because
Too.
that's
there
not
was a
really like
GPS sensor. It took some data. Bada bing, bada boom.
okay. I guess I was thrown
That
off
was
by
wrong.
using because like GPS sensors are so like passive. You know what I mean? Like you aren't doing anything; you're just standing there, right? Okay.
I'm more shook by by the fact that LabVIEW is used here. This is crazy to me. My association with MATLAB is not as a data parsing thing.
Labview,
I
you mean?
used LabVIEW to control vacuum chambers.
Yeah. Does anybody else have experience with LabVIEW that can comment about the connection?
Yeah, LabVIEW can do LabVIEW can do stuff like that. So you can have LabVIEW take data in, go through control process, and something, output something or change something based on the input data. So
Okay, so it makes sense that
yeah,
like
what
in this situation.
Totally legit.
yeah, what they're saying it makes a lot of sense actually.
Okay.
Okay.
I think the point that Grayson was trying to make, though, is that it doesn't seem like they're controlling anything. Like LabVIEW is just a means of displaying the data here. It's not by any means a controller, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, if you read a
Yeah,
little
I
bit
mean,
further, it says
I
displayed.
don't know that I was even really trying to make a strong point one way or the other. It's just that when I think of LabVIEW in my head, I think of it as something that allows you to interface multiple systems together and then operate on them, kind of thing. Like with a vacuum chamber, it's like, oh, you can switch valves accordingly, you can set mass flow accordingly, not like using it in a way that you would use to analyze data.
So I'm going to
Or should I say manipulate the data to be in a form to be analyzed, to stay consistent with my previous criticism.
You're contradicting yourself, homie. I'm on to you. All right, so I'm going to suggest that we combine the first two bullet points because it seems to be about the same thing, about like what actual the data was, looking at satellites. I also would like to know why they're doing this, even if it's like a personal project. I want to know like what the end goal is. Like, are you trying to put all of the satellites that you can, that are currently in view in the sky above you? Like, are you trying to parse that information into like a website? Like, what's the end goal? Like, what were you trying to do here? It looks like they're trying to display it in LabVIEW in a user-friendly format, but I'm not really sure what that means. And it says that they added functionality to display information real time versus in the past, but I'm not really sure what they mean by like how they did that. I don't know if that's like just through LabVIEW stuff or if they use something else to switch between real time versus historic information. Is that fair questions?
Yeah, I don't think honestly, I'm not as familiar or I've only used like pre-existing written LabVIEW interfaces or like GUIs. I've never actually made anything with it. So I don't really know enough to say.
Well, I'm gonna keep that there. I think maybe if they just make the goal a little bit clearer, goal of the project, and then like it says that they were able to display position, number of satellites in time. So it like it worked. We have that like result. But kind of an overall type the package sort of thing I think would be helpful. Any other thoughts on this one? All right, let's go to the Matlab Weather Api. Developed a code to connect to an API and extract data about the weather forecast for multiple cities. So they're going to need to say in MATLAB, which is what I'm assuming from the title. Develop the code in MATLAB to connect to an API. What's connecting to the API?
Do people usually use that phrasing, developing a code? Don't they say a program?
Yeah, usually code is
Because like a code, yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it there.
Is this like scraping? Is that what this is? I am not a comp sci person, so y'all gonna have to help me. Like, is this web scraping?
Sounds like they connected to a thing that was like a repository of a bunch of information about a bunch of different cities' weather. And then, go ahead.
Emily, so the screen isn't running for me, but Okay. Would you be able to? I think you should give the suggestion instead of develop the code. Maybe wrote a script.
Okay.
That's more accurate for what MATLAB is.
Yeah. How do you feel about connect to an API? That phrase is throwing me off for a loop too.
Yeah. I'm honestly not too sure. I'm also not a comp sci person.
Okay, hold on. Evan, are you busy? Damn it, he's busy. Okay. Well, we're gonna have to leave that one up in the air. But I do agree with you about the develop the code thing. So let's say wrote a script instead. Okay. All right, and I do think they could combine these two bullet points.
I was actually going to suggest taking out that second bullet point because the way I read that is they're saying I wrote bad code and then I made it less bad.
Yeah. You're right. Unless they had started with like code like from somewhere else that they got and then they made it better. I agree with you, Chase.
I would like to phrase it something like this. Developed a MATLAB script to get real-time weather information for 100 cities, real-time weather information forecast for 100 cities using this particular API, using weather.com API.
Oh, so you think they need to be more specific about what type of which API they use?
It could be like APIs are like standard APIs are quite well known within ComSci, at least.
Okay.
So yeah, for example, Yelp API is quite popular. That's one of the one for de facto for like toy projects. So
okay, yeah. Thank you. I'm not that in that world, so I appreciate the help. And again, I don't really know what their overall goal was. Like, what were you trying to do here? Were they trying to like model just make a what is it called when you run like an emulator, like take data from one thing and run it in MATLAB? Maybe, I don't know. Does that do you guys get what I'm trying to say? Like,
are you talking about building a weather forecasting model? Or
yeah, I'm not sure why, like what the overall goal was for grabbing this data. Like, do you think they were trying to just put it into MATLAB for display purposes?
yeah, it could have been like developed a weather forecasting system using this particular algorithm with this much accuracy using MATLAB or something along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of confused. Like, they get these weather forecasts for a bunch of cities. They put it into MATLAB, right? They extract the data from the API and put it into MATLAB. But like what were they trying to do in MATLAB? Were they just trying to like display the data in MATLAB? Were they trying to?
Yeah. I should probably just mention it. And then there's also, again, I guess it goes back to this theme of being more specific about things.
Yeah.
There's also, I think even just hearing you and Elmcroft talk for that bit of time, because like when I saw the extract data from an API thing, I was just thinking that like the direct information exists somewhere, right? Like a very explicit, like this city, this temperature, this probability of precipitation, like all written as such, right? But could it be? But then when I hear the phrase weather forecasting model, I'm thinking like that's way more complicated. That's like you're getting like measurements from different things and like doing different calculations and stuff, right? So there's this question of like what kind of complexity is this, you know?
Yeah, I don't think it's that complex. They only spent like 2 months on it max. So
yeah, true.
I don't think so. I'd hope that if that's what they were doing, that they would say it. But of course, you know,
True. Yeah, good point.
we are kind of ignorant for what's actually going on. And the person is not here for us to ask. All right, we got 2 more. We got a robotic arm, modeled a 3D prototype, and fabricated a sleeve wearable to control a robotic arm. Sleeve wearable or a wearable sleeve? I'm thinking we switch the order of those two.
Does it even need to be mentioned? I mean, I guess so in this context, but
Yeah, that's definitely important.
like, is it not implied that if you're making a sleeve that it's wearable?
Oh.
I made a sleeve, but only a very tiny person could wear it.
Oh,
It's like,
I understand what you're saying now. I guess it makes sense because there's, I guess, sometimes like in the mechanical world, a sleeve isn't necessarily like a shirt sleeve.
Yeah.
I was also going to mention,
Mhm.
In this case, I think it actually is better to say wearable because the sleeve is, if it's controlling a robotic arm, it's going to assume it has electronics on it. And
Mhm.
so if it is wearable, then that means that there was thought put into where those electronics should go, and that the movement of the arm was considered. So instead of just having it out.
That's true. That's true.
Fantastic point. I was not thinking about that.
So do you think the 3D prototype is separate from the wearable sleeve, or do you think they are the same thing? The sleeve is the prototype.
I think they can be separated if the person this person would like to go more into how the sleeve was fabricated, and as well as separately how it was modeled. And I think it'd be really interesting to hear how it controls the robotic arm.
Yeah, me too. More detail for this
I agree
one.
with all those points.
I think this one's much cooler than the Weather API and the GPS parser. But maybe that's just because it's mechanical and I like mechanical stuff more. But
also,
go ahead.
Sorry. No, I interrupted you.
I was just going to say this is cool.
They actually did that project very quickly. So props to them. It's it's very interesting.
Yeah, but to be fair, the Labview and the Matlab, those 2 projects, they only spent like 2 months. And this one, they actually spent more time on.
Yeah.
Only 2 bullet points. I think my suggestion would be cut the bullet points of the other 2 things down and expand more on this robotic arms thing because it's dope and I want to hear more about it. However, they are, if they want to do more coatings related stuff, maybe it is useful to keep the Matlab and Labview stuff up front.
But I mean, the robotic arm is coding as well, so I think it's safe to put it up front because that shows both mechanical inclination as well as programming inclination. So
that is very true. All right. So we want to hear more about that robotic arm. Okay. Wirelessly connect to the arm via Bluetooth. We want to make sure that.
Do you guys think, because y'all's got engineering degrees, and I didn't have to do any of these like group projects. But if this was a group project, do you think it should be mentioned, or do you think it's
100%.
fine? It
absolutely,
100%. At the top of the project section, I wrote on Teams ? And how many.
If sorry, I keep not looking at what you're writing.
It's okay. If any of these projects are on a team, we really should know, because obviously doing all of like making a successful robotic arm that's controlled by a sleeve by yourself in 3 or 4 months is like, wow, that's a lot. But on a team, it's a little bit more not like believable, but more like reasonable as like a side project. And like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they're super intense and did it by themselves. I don't know. More detail. I'm going to say how. And okay, while following robot.
I got a lot of points for this one. If you could I speak?
So yeah, this I'm just gonna say, gonna do a little intro. This is a very common engineering 100 level project. I think
really?
that yes, that almost I've seen it a lot. So very common. They're in like groups and they have to like design a little robot. All the freshmen get together. All right, you go ahead. What do you want to say about it?
So for the first bullet point, I think we can all agree here. What specifications?
Yep. Like some more.
Second bullet point. Okay. Well, what CAD did you use? You just say utilized CAD.
Yep.
And then they say they developed the robot from scratch, but how did they develop it? How did they make this robot? Because where did they get all the parts and everything?
I smelted all the ore.
Huh?
No.
Oh,
No.
you smelted the ore. Okay. Sorry, lagged. My brain lagged.
All right.
And the timeline definitely makes your point even more, Emily. If they're graduating in 2022, then this was their freshman project.
Yeah. Also, community stakeholder. What is that?
Yeah,
it's
so
Is that the professor?
it is a vague wording. No, there's no way that they would have that. If like maybe they made it with a little bit of an extra thing for somebody. I don't know. My university was pretty big on trying to do things that helped like different. They would be called stakeholders. Community stakeholders would just be literally anyone who lives in your city who needs something for something. Like that's as broadly as it's defined, really. A lot of times it ends up being like nonprofits and stuff, but yeah, I guess you already knew that. You were just making the point that it's not specific.
Yeah. It's like we made them from specifications that this random person told us to do. It's like, what? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. If they're actually trying to accomplish a goal, then that would be helpful. I'm guessing right now the goal is to follow the wall. But like if they were applying that later, like we were following the wall so we could, save cats that, accidentally climbed up to tall buildings, It's like what why were you doing this? Like yeah, it probably was a like if the community stakeholder is what you're thinking, Grayson, then I'm guessing that's how it comes into play. Is like how can we use this robot to help the community? But if it's what I think, just like a random person said, we should make it, into these specifications, then it like kind of doesn't necessarily have a purpose of other than teaching students about engineering and working on teams. But yeah, okay. All right, how do we feel about this one? I feel like we can throw this project section up above the work experience. That's my vote.
So like do that, and then maybe take out or remove some of the bullets to expand on some of the more like impressive seeming projects.
Yeah.
The bicycle detector and the robotic arm, rather.
Yeah, the robotic arm and blind spot detector, I think, are definitely the strongest. We could probably cut down I think we did a pretty good job at like cutting down the other stuff. Maybe we need to combine a couple more bullet points like up here. Let's combine this one.
Kind of the classic thing of some of the skills mentioned under. Yeah, some of the skills mentioned aren't mentioned anywhere.
Yep, that's true. That's very true. We want to make sure you integrate those skills into the bullet points. I think I write that on every resume.
Yeah.
Into bullet points. Okay. Other than that, how do we feel? Would you hire this person? I think they might be able to get a full-time job if they play their cards right. I think they could get a full-time job after graduating.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, they could definitely get interviews, and then they're off to the races. That's where the game really begins, you know.
Yeah,
I
those
was thinking
projects.
maybe
Sorry.
it seems like they've made a lot of software that would lend itself to a GitHub or and they have a lot of projects too. If they took the time to make a portfolio, I know it's like it's kind of annoying to do and a lot of work, but it seems like with this resume for some reason, well, I guess because a lot of their work experience isn't directly tied to engineering specifically. So if they took the time to make a nice portfolio, it might make up for the lack of industry internship.
Yeah, I think that they need to definitely elaborate on their cool projects.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully show how cool they are.
Those projects are definitely really great talking points in an interview. I mean, you can bring up those assistance positions, but talking about the engineering process that you went through during those projects is very important, in my opinion, at least for real engineering.
100%. I agree. But this person isn't even looking for a job. They're looking for an internship, which I think is a little strange. I think they could probably get a full-time job if they, be a little more descriptive and clean it up a bit.
Maybe they're thinking grad school?
Well, then that makes sense why they're putting the research stuff first.
Yeah.
No, you guys are crazy. This isn't grad school. It'd be a CV. It'd be 8 pages long. There'd be more sections.
I don't know, man.
They didn't look at my resume to throw me in grad school.
Sorry.
They have a high GPA, maybe.
They do. That's what I'm thinking. That's what caught my eye.
What did you say, Elmcroft? Did you say something?
Yeah, I think 1 page is the standard for grad school. I had my grad school applications last year, so.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'm just.
Yeah.
I'm just crazy.
At least based on my research.
Elmcroft, was that a master's or PhD?
Masters.
Okay, that's what I would think. Yeah, PhD is more expected to have a CV and a multiple page resume.
I do think because they're looking for an internship and they're not using this resume to apply to grad school, that the project should go above the work experience, because I think that will be better for getting an internship.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But again, if they wanted to make another resume to actually apply to grad school, then I would keep probably the research assistant stuff and teaching assistant stuff at the top. But I'm assuming right now that this is just for the internship. This isn't the grad school one. I probably am going to write a little blurb about why we took the objective away, because I didn't do that earlier. I'm going to say no new information. Okay. So what do you guys think about it overall?
I think they've got a good shot. They're doing a lot of good stuff. They're keeping up with their coursework. They seem like they get it done. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things I'll say is that, well, yeah, I don't know. I guess to me, maybe this reads like a robotics person, right? That's like definitely their focus. Because I was gonna say some of it, like I can't really tell exactly what their thing is. But I guess now that I'm glancing through it, this seems like a robotics person.
Yeah, they did the robotic arm and the blind spot detector is definitely heavy on the electrical engineering, even though they're mechanical. So that makes
And
me
then
think.
they volunteered at a roboticon.
Yep.
Okay.
No, that makes sense. Anybody else? Well, any last thoughts?